Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Unversed podcast. Dan here, and today we're talking about Shortcake Cake. So, thanks again, Viz. They gave us another manga to check out, Volume 1. This is, like as I said, it's a Shortcake Cake, written and drawn by a team known as Su Morishita. And I didn't notice until I saw like the bind in the back. Reading it, I was like, this manga is the definition of shoujo, right? This is from Shoujo Beat, being published by Viz out here. And my God, like the art style, the plots, the characters, it all screams shoujo, you know? And I'm not gonna lie, guys, back in the day, early manga time, you know, just starting to read out a bunch of stuff. I already had the main stuff like Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, you know, had the big three locked. And I'm like, okay, what else is there to read? I dabbled in a little bit of Shoujo Beat, I'm not gonna lie. And a little bit of rom-coms too. So, this field, I can read because it's like, oh, I've read that kind of stuff before, so I could kind of get what's going on. And see, the crazy thing about manga here is, cause I'm looking at the cover. The cover has our main character, Ten is her name. She's sporting some blue hair, light blue hair. Right? But then when you read the manga, her hair is black. Right? Like it's rarely shaded at all. So I'm like, oh, okay. That's the one thing that's always tricky with manga is like you have to wait for colors to understand like these color schemes, you know? I mean, look at the Vegeta armor, for example, in DBZ anime. But enough of getting off topic. So I read the first volume. It's about 3 chapters, right? Let's see. There's not even table contents. Yeah, it's like 3 chapters. And here I'll just check out the synopsis in the back. It says, Ten Serizawa has a 2-hour commute through the mountains to high school every day, so she can't spend much time hanging out with her friends in the afternoon. She decides to move into the local boarding house where one of her friends and 3 other boys are living. Ten's friends consider her to be as oblivious as a rock when it comes to noticing boys and falling in love. But will she be able to keep her calm and steady heart in her new living situation? So, that's what we're going on here. It's a very shoujo type deal already, right? You know, main character never really experienced love before, is with people who are trying to find love, like her friend and the other dorm mate. And she's living with guys, you know, and 2 of them are very popular with the ladies. So we have that situation going on. And not a bad read, you know? I mean, it's very shoujo, like I've been saying, so it's kind of predictable in that aspect of what they're going for, right? So you have 2 pretty boys, right? You have one bookworm guy, and then you have our main character with her friend who, you know, is all about just wanting to get a boyfriend, so she's trying to look, I guess, pretty all the time. And then you have the other female in the group who doesn't really stand out that much. Gosh, I don't even remember. Yeah, I don't really remember her that much. So it's just one of those types of mangas. There's already, I guess, from the first volume, I understand like there is some sort of love triangle being developed, right? It's much like the other manga that we reviewed that Viz gave us was that sky blue feeling, right? Where it's like, oh, these characters don't understand what's happening to them, you know, and it's supposed to go for the audience, right? The audience is obviously like high school girls reading this kind of stuff, right? Like people in the year that these characters are in. That's who they're going for. And character designs, again, very, you know, typical shoujo. You know, like if somebody were to ask me, hey, can you point to a manga that is the definition of shoujo beat mangas? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's right here, Shortcake Cake. You know, you have the big eyes, you have the hair drawn a certain way, like over the face and all that. You have the eyes that can be expressive, this and that. And then, of course, you have the big ears. Like, I swear, reading this, I was like, I'm pretty sure I've read something from these guys before, but I haven't. And it's like, oh no, I'm just thinking of other shoujo manga. Right? So, it's very easy to catch on if you're a fan of the genre. And some likable characters for sure. And the interesting part of what we read in volume 1 so far is the main character is not in love with anybody. She's not confused about her feelings at all. It's actually another character who lives in the boarding house who's never experienced what's going on before. So that's what's really going on in here is the main character is just adjusting to her new life, right? Like I said in the synopsis, you know, she lived in the mountain area, so she would have to commute. And I think through that process, that's where a lot of her character comes from. Because she's not like her friend who lives at this boarding house, you know? What was her name? Gosh, I feel bad. I just read it too. But, what's it called? Yeah, she's not like the average girl. You know, which is, I guess, the appeal for this, right? If you're really not the average of your friends, you know, you can't really get along with the same interests, then this is how this would be drawn to you, right? And I think that's just interesting how the engagement of these characters does not start with the main character. It actually starts with a secondary character who gets more dialogue, I think, than the actual main character, which is interesting. And of course, by the end of volume 1, we already see that the main character is going to be involved, right? She asked a serious question to this guy Riku, and a good cliffhanger, I'd say, based off the pacing. And yeah, pacing again is it's pretty nice. It's nothing too fast, too slow. It's just like volume 1 this is literally just an introduction. There's nothing really going on aside from this Riku guy. What was it? Yeah, Riku. Aside from this guy, everything else is kind of just waiting for something to happen. Just a little bit of ground building here, right? We got introduced to another character who doesn't live in the boarding school or the boarding home, whatever it is, who has history with this Riku guy. And I don't know, based on his design and the way the main character is interested in that person, I feel like he's gonna come back. And other than that, I mean, the only other character we get is the house mom, who got like a couple of lines of dialogue. And other than that, guys, this is worth a read, I think. Again, if you're interested in the shoujo genre, right? If you read shoujo beat mangas and you like the art style, you will definitely be hooked into this, I think. I know I would have years ago, back when I was reading shoujo, during that era of my life, as you can say. But other than that, I mean, it has some humor here and there that is pretty good. And again, the art style, it's good, you know? I mean, aside from it just being a generic shoujo looking, it has its own charm to it when it wants to. It's this is definitely a cleanup of what 90s shoujo look like. You know, not too heavy on the ink and the lines, you know, it's just right. HD, pretty much, when it comes to this kind of manga. And other than that, I mean, yeah, it's pretty cool. Again, like, nothing really going on with the main character other than, like, early on, there looked like stuff was gonna be happening, but no, she's just kind of understanding her background and her environment, and then I guess after this situation right now, at the end of the volume, once that gets resolved, then maybe we'll see some more progression with her character. Because already right now, just, seeing the conversation she just had, like the last few lines she had, doesn't feel like her character throughout the rest of the volume, right? It feels like, oh, okay, we're actually seeing more depth into her right as she's saying this line, and then when we start volume 2, then that is where we're going to see really a good structure of what her character is, and then you just continue from there. And that is all, guys. You could pick up Shortcake anywhere now. It's already out on the bookshelves. Just took a little while for the review, but more to come. It is the standard $10.99, or excuse me, the standard $9.99 that Viz comes out, and you can get it on all the Kindle devices, you know, Comixology, wherever you pick up your manga, even the Viz app, right, for their manga, you could get it there too. Again, it's by Shoujo Beat, so it's pretty worth it, I think, if you like this kind of material. And yeah, see, just looking at the volume cover, it's pretty nice too. I still understand the meaning of Shortcake, reading this, because there's nothing to do with cake or anything. So it could be one of those Japanese things that it just goes over your head in the translation or something, you know. And oh yeah, at the end of the volume, you get some title covers. I think the chapter covers. Yeah. For the manga. So that's pretty cool too. You get a more look at the illustrations, and you could see what type of style they do when it comes to the color, right? Because unfortunately, when you get volumes like this, you rarely get colored where it's supposed to be. So at least you see, like, it's like watercolor-esque for the color pages, which is pretty cool. And yeah, guys, so again, if you go pick it up, you know, I think it's worth the read if you, again, like shoujo. And we do have some other manga coming in from Viz. I'm not sure when it's going to be or which one we're getting first, but it's definitely out of the shoujo, so it's going to be more into my area of expertise when it comes to manga, right? As much as I've been reading, so thank you again, everybody, for listening to the episode. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, your thoughts on Shortcake, if you've read it or not, if you want to let us know, remember you can email us at unversedpodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to stay caught up, go to social media, anywhere you go, at Unversed Podcast. And that pretty much wraps us up. So thanks for listening again, and as always, we will talk to you next time.
1, yeah, 3,